So UFC legend Daniel Cormier, aka DC, little fun name people give him. He came to social media and talked about the next lightweight fights or the next fights in general in the UFC that he wants to see. And one of those fights is Charles Oliveira versus Dustin Poirier. He believes that Charles Oliveira should be Dustin's last fight, and I agree. Charles recently lost to Arman Sarukian. Even more recently, beat Michael Chandler. And of course, he really, really, really wants the lightweight belt. But I think at this time in lightweight, he should probably look to either become the BMF or this would be a great opportunity too to give Dustin Poirier his final fight. I think that's a great segue for Charles. And then if Charles comes out the victor, he has a great case for to be the next guy to challenge for the lightweight belt. So I think this is a great spot for Charles. I think Charles should fight Dustin next, and that would be giving Dustin a really big, tough fighter for his final fight of his career. I think it's a great fight. I really do. I credit DC for that fight because I didn't even see it. I didn't see that matchup. I've been calling for Patty to fight Dustin. Um, you know, maybe even Dustin versus Gaethje, something like that. But in my mind, I'd always kind of thought that Charles would probably fight Max Holloway for the BMF belt. That is still on the table. I think that's still definitely a fight that the UFC might make. But I think it's definitely either Charles fights Max Holloway for the BMF belt, like I just said, or Charles fights Dustin for Dustin's last fight. I think that's a great fight. It's going to be a great display of boxing. Um, Charles has that really great, really fun, entertaining shoot the box style. Dustin has his Louisiana Southern boxing style. He's a really, really great boxer, one of the best the UFC has ever seen. And that would be a great fight. Somebody might even get knocked out in that fight. I think it's a dangerous fight for Charles. Dustin Poirier is a dangerous fighter. He knows how to get guys out of there on the feet. That being said, Charles is even more dangerous. Charles beat Dustin in their first fight. This would be their second fight. Charles is a great grappler. Dustin, hasn't had the best track record against really great grapplers. But still, he does know how to get back up. He is a black belt in BJJ. That being said, again, Charles is just next level when it comes to grappling, and he showed that in his first fight with Dustin. So obviously, Charles might come out as the favorite to win this fight, but I think of course, Dustin can't be overlooked. The fight starts on the feet. Every MMA fight starts on the feet. So Charles would have to find a way to bring Dustin down to the ground. Dustin loves pulling guillotines, so Charles would obviously have to watch out for that. And even if the fight doesn't go on the ground, Charles would have to watch out for the really great boxing of Dustin. But then again, Charles is a great boxer himself, so it's a really entertaining fight. I think it's a back and forth. I think it gets bloody. I think it goes probably to the final round. Um, I like Charles Oliveira's chances more just because Dustin is headed out and this is Dustin's last fight. So even though Dustin is going to go all out, um, there isn't really anything more that Dustin is fighting for beyond this. For Charles, Charles is fighting for more beyond this because Charles needs a win here. If Charles does not get a win, that places him further and further away from the belt. So Charles definitely would need a win, um, as opposed to Dustin who doesn't need a win. Dustin, this is his last fight. A win would be nice, but this is his last fight. He's just trying to grace the octagon one more time. So this is his last time doing so. But yeah, it's a good fight. If I had to pick a winner, it's tough. But like I said, I like Charles's chances more just because of what comes after this fight. But again, you know, a fight is a fight, regardless of what comes after. Both guys are going for the win here. This is Dustin's last fight, so Dustin is going all out. And we've seen a Dustin, we've seen Dustin go all out before. Dustin thought his fight against Islam Makhachev was going to be his last fight, so Dustin did go all out for that fight, and he looked great doing so. He went, band for band on the feet with Islam. Yeah, he got tripped up and submitted last minute, but if that fight went to full five, Dustin probably would have won it. I think he was ahead on the feet. Islam was right there with him. Don't get me wrong, Islam was right there with him, but I think if it went to the full 5 rounds, the judges would have more than likely gave it to Dustin. So yeah. Um, a balls to the wall Dustin Poirier is a menace. He's a nightmare to deal with. Then again, Charles is trying to get to that belt, so I think he is going to spam grappling. So give it to Charles. I'll take Charles. I'll take Charles because even when Charles is in trouble, he's gonna go to that grappling. He's gonna go to that jujitsu. Um, and like I said, even though Dustin is a black belt, Charles, like, he's next level, man. He's just next level. He's gonna find a way to get to the back of Dustin, gun for a submission, or just collect ground control time. So I'd take Charles. There's obviously a chance that Dustin is able to clip Charles. He might even drop Charles, but Charles is a tough motherfucker. He will get up. The only way he won't get up is if he's knocked out cold, and Dustin obviously can do that too. But again, Charles is just a dog. He's got that really good ground game. He's going to find a way to get Dustin to the ground. He's going to find a way to take advantage of bad positioning for Dustin. Give me Charles. Final round submission again. I think Charles won their first fight via last round submission. I like the chances. I like the chances of that happening again. I think this fight is going to be bloody. I think it will go to the last round. I think Charles will be dropped. I don't think Dustin will. I think Charles will get takedowns, probably more takedowns than Dustin. And I think Charles will go into the final round having more ground control than Dustin. And then it'll come down to a final takedown by Charles, whether that's a trip in the clench or a straight up single or double leg. Charles will find a way to get Dustin to the ground in the final round, find a way to take the back, probably submit Dustin via rear naked. So I got Charles submitting Dustin Poirier in the final round. It'll still be a great fight. It'll still be a back and forth. It'll still be a fun fight to watch. And it'll still be a great send-off for a great, great, great fighter in Dustin Poirier, who has done a lot of things, a lot of great things. He never touched a UFC belt, but still, he was able to beat Conor McGregor in a trilogy. Go toe to toe with Islam Makhachev. Fight basically all of the big lightweight names. He's done a lot in the UFC, and he will go down more than likely as a legend in the UFC. Yeah, he will. So yeah, credit to Dustin. I think this is a great last fight opportunity for him. I think Charles should take the fight. Charles will likely win, and then Charles will have a case for the belt again, after whoever else fights Islam first, whether that is going to be Armin or Ilya or whoever. Charles will be able to solidify a place in that line for the belt after beating Dustin Poirier. But overall, you let me know what you think. Make sure you like, comment, subscribe, and turn the notifications on. Most importantly, turn the notifications on because YouTube likes to fuck with my viewership. So make sure you are notified for my next video so you can stay in the loop. I love you guys, and I'll see y'all in the next.